So as you may have heard, I got the autism. So you might have expected me about a month ago to review this new Sia movie with the wacky portrayal of the autism. But the fact of the matter is, that's been done on The Big Bang Theory ever since 2007. And by this point, it's pretty boring. Now, if I had gotten in on the action about a month ago, I could have gotten some of that sweet, sweet clout, but it's just not relevant anymore, and to be honest, I don't care about it. Instead, let's talk about something that'll flip and blow your mind, something truly awesome. Let's talk Star Trek Generations, up and this is as...
Hello? Popcorn delivery.
Put a little weekend in your week. Rent a video.
Yeah, I don't know why my intro is so random either, so sue me. Here we got Star Trek Generations. Holy cow, this was one of my favorite movies to watch as a youngster. Like, I used to pop this in a VHS and I was like, oh man, this is a rollicking, spacefaring adventure. Now, of course, like the VHS case, just look at this. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but like, has this incredible rainbow effect. It's not a 3D case, it's just like got this epic rainbow effect. It looks so cool. You can't do that with DVD cases now, can you? But with VHS cases, you can print these epic like rainbow graphics. Like, just look at that. That looks cooler than a DVD, doesn't it? Because it's actually, I think maybe that's the appeal of DVDs, is that they look all futuristic with these rainbow colors. But yeah, this looks way better. Like, look at that. Oh, wow. So like I said, this is one of my favorite Star Trek movies. Maybe actually my favorite. Now, I like Star Trek the Motion Picture. Now, as you may have heard me say, and actually I don't think I've ever said this before, the only two Star Trek movies you'll ever need to see are this and Star Trek the Motion Picture. Star Trek the Motion Picture is a great movie with the original cast. Generations is a great movie with the next gen cast. You can watch First Contact and Nemesis and, heck, even Insurrection if you really want to. All of them are fine movies in their own right. Heck, I even like Nemesis, you know? It's a good movie. It's the only Star Trek movie that came out when I was alive. The only good Star Trek movie. But, the fact of the matter is, Star Treks 2 through 6 are just hot garbage. Like, holy shit, they really just devolved into lunacy after Star Trek 1. You know, you got Star Trek 1, the motion picture, with a ball lady and freaking wormhole antics and this epic mind-spanning cosmic creature that consumes the Enterprise hull. So epic. And then you get to Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, and oh no, Spock dies. And then Star Trek 3, let's bring Spock back. And then Star Trek 4, hey, let's go back to present day Earth for the 4th time in a row. And hey, let's go to Final Frontier, an undiscovered continent or undiscovered country or whatever the flip it's called. So by the end of the 80s, the Star Trek movie franchise was seriously on its last legs. Enter Next Gen, the show that brought the franchise back from the brink of death. Enter Star Trek Generations, the first movie featuring the cast of Next Gen. So, of course, in Next Gen, you've got several returning actors. You've got the episode with Spock, which is really epic, and then you've got the episode with Scotty, which is also really epic. So basically, the only thing left for them to do is to, plop Captain Kirk into Next Gen. And just the very idea of William Shatner and Patrick Stewart being in this same movie, like, this was some revolutionary shit, And the writers had to come up with, some kind of reason, as to why Captain Kirk is like 80 years after his time. And they do a really good job of that. Like, you have to come up with some kind of reason as to why he hasn't aged and you know, he's interacting with Picard and all this, and you know, I gotta say, the first scene of this movie is a little bit different from how I remember it upon rewatching it. I don't remember this new Enterprise where Kirk isn't the captain and Sulu's daughter is on board, and there's, like, you know, I remember the champagne bottle really vividly in my mind, but I remember it breaking against the ship, and then, like, Kirk comes on board, and, like, maybe I'm mixing it up with one of the Star Treks 2 through 6, but, like, I remember Uhura being there. I also remember Scotty being there, but, like, Kirk walks on board, and it's probably just a false memory, but it is really weird to watch this movie, like, after 10 years and just think, why as a kid did I remember a completely different intro? But I remember, like, Kirk was actually, like, the captain of this Enterprise, and it was like a new Enterprise or something. And then the rest of the movie went the same, but I remember, like, a completely different first scene. It's weird. But, yeah. Probably just, I got bad memory. I mean, I first watched this in, like, 2006, so sue me. But, yeah, so this movie isn't as intense or edgy or nihilistic as First Contact, which I also got First Contact. I'm going to be reviewing that in the series shortly. But, you know, this is just a good movie all around. Some people don't like William Shatner. And all I can say is, you know, he's okay. Like, quit shitting on him. He's a good captain, you know. Goes down with his ship. That's what I say. But the really interesting part, of course, is that for the entirety of Next Gen, Kirk was presumed dead, and he had been consumed by this energy ribbon, and that was never revealed up to this point. Like, that's really smart writing there. You know, the whole entirety of Next Gen, you just assume, oh, Kirk died a natural death, or oh, Kirk is in some old captain's home. But, like, just the, you know, the most famous captain in Starfleet was, like, mentioned a lot in Next Gen. You know, that Kirk is, in the original Enterprise, is, like, brought up and referenced a lot, but you never hear about how, like, Kirk is swallowed and presumed, like, gone. Like, that's just, like, mind blown, you know? Like, you never... You know, it's just a very well executed retcon on the part of the writers. Like, you know, obviously that wasn't the intention, like, all the way back at Farpoint, but, like, they really just say, man, you know, this whole time Kirk was just, like, thought to be dead. It's so crazy. But yeah, really good intro, really good solid intro, and it's called Generations because it connects the two into one cohesive and coherent franchise. And that is something Star Treks 2 through 6 were really missing. The feeling of connection, the feeling of continuity. Star Trek Generations restores that. It brings it back. It says, look, continuity. And it does it very well, I might add. So after we see Kirk get swallowed up by a big energy ribbon, and Scotty and Chekhov looking all, holy shit, what would we just see? Oh my gosh, Captain Kirk has been swallowed by an energy beast. You know, we go to the Enterprise D, Captain Picard's ship, and one thing about the Enterprise in this movie is even though it's the same Enterprise as on all of Next Gen, they upgrade it to a cinematic experience. You're not looking at these little tiny shots anymore. You're not looking at, you know, oh, a little non-moving shot. You're looking at, like, this cinematic shit. Like, I don't know if it was the same set or not, probably, but, like, they got way better cameras. They got way more clear, like, cameras to capture the action. So you don't even really feel like you're on the same Enterprise. You're feeling like, holy shit. This just went from, like, TV quality to movie quality in like 5 seconds, and I can only imagine how like mind blown everyone was, back when this came out. Because that's just really interesting to see the difference between the cinematography of a TV show and then like the cinematography of a flippin' movie. Like all these wide shots, all these like perspective shots, the camera's over here, the camera's over there. You just feel like, man, this is a flippin' movie. Like, oh my gosh. And it's supposedly the same Enterprise, I guess, but like, man, like. But yeah, the Enterprise looks all upgraded and cool, and for the first time in a long while, we see the interesting mechanic the Enterprise has got where it can chunk in two, as it were, and become the little saucer, and then you got the little engine in the back, and it goes and comes apart. So we see that for the first time in a while here. And then, of course, we have the conclusion of the arc with the fiendish Duras sisters, some of the finest villains Star Trek ever put up. And, I will say that, while it is a little anticlimactic to just see the Duras sisters just kaboom. Spoiler warning for anyone who's spoiler crazy. I don't give a shit. But, it is a little anticlimactic to see these two fiendishly cunning villains who we've seen develop and grow over the course. Heck, they're in DS9 too. Just blow up. But, I would say it feels kind of earned. It feels like, they pushed the envelope a little too far, so the Enterprise finally just whammo, is done with their shit. And, it's very interesting. The Duras sisters are great. But of course, bring in the bacon. We got Malcolm McDowell. I don't even like British actors, but he's from Clockwork Orange. I respect the guy. He's been around a long while. And he was in Death Race 2050, the sequel to Death Race 2000. I didn't even know there was a sequel to Death Race 2000. Holy crap, I need to get it sometime. It's too bad it's not on VHS.
United Corporations of America.
But yeah, Malcolm McDowell is in this as the fiendish Elarian, or whatever they're called, Sorin. It's just, Elarian. So Sorin, of course, is a bad Elarian, the species of Guinan, whose listeners, and I don't know, I've always found the concept of a species that just listens kind of interesting. They just listen. Obviously, that would go well for a bartender. I feel like the concept of the species is a little limited. So it's always nice to see an Elarian that isn't as warm and friendly and cheery as Guinan. Sorin is a freaking badass, much like the Elarian who appears on DS9 and competes with Quark in the casino that he opens across the promenade. If any of you have seen that episode, Sorin is kind of like that, but like amped to 11. This Elarian does not fool around. This Elarian is out for flippin' blood. This is an evil listener right here. He only listens if he knows where the Nexus is going to pass through. That's all he listens for. And man, oh man, does Malcolm McDowell bring the bacon. Like, I don't even like A Clockwork Orange. I think it's a kind of pretentious movie and kind of lame. But I really like Sorin. He's a fun-ass villain. Like, just what a villain. And I remember vividly the bit where, him and Picard are just going back and forth on this desert planet. It just feels so grounded and just got such a repertoire. These two great actors. Malcolm McDowell, Patrick Stewart, talking it out, and Patrick Stewart can't get up there and stop him because there's this flippin' force field. And the desert is really nice outdoor shots. You got, just this really cool planet scenery, and the desert feels a little more grounded than all those neon colors that are on, early Next Gen episodes and even some later Next Gen episodes. And of course, the original series has all these wacky neon planets, which, obviously alien planets would be more like that, but the desert in Generations just looks so, cinematic, as it were. It's a very nice cinematic set with, in the center you've got Soren's evil, malevolent rocket launcher ready to blow up the sun, and then you got all these cool bridges and catwalks, and it's just like, wow, Soren has a plan. He's a freaking man with a plan right here, so that's really cool. The bit where Data gets his emotion chip is kind of interesting. I don't remember what episode it is where he finds an emotion chip or something, but I do vividly remember the Mr. Tricorder bit. I remember that, watching that when I was 8. It was kind of creepy. Brent Spiner does a really good job of creeping everyone out with his frickin' emotions, because, holy shit, androids aren't supposed to be that emotional. But it does a really good job of it. Some very interesting stuff with that.
Mr. Tricorder.
Then, of course, you got the bit where Kirk is out back chopping logs, and all of a sudden Patrick Stewart just comes strolling on in. And it's like, what the frick? Obviously, it's supposed to be like Abe Lincoln, log cabin, living the simple life. Kirk has been reduced to a menial house husband, as it were, cooking the alien eggs. And then, of course, he hops on his horse, because he's a classy man of character, and Patrick Stewart follows along on his horse. Now, of course, I believe this is some very clever writing. In the episode where the Enterprise gets taken hostage and Picard has to figure out how to make it past the terrorists and save the Enterprise from being hijacked, you've got the bit where Captain Picard says, hey, I might go up and get my saddle and I might ride, because I like riding, because, I like, it's established even earlier than that Captain Picard owns a saddle, because he's into horses, he likes riding. And you never see it until this one, where it's just like Kirk and Picard out on the horses, out on the plains, on the wild open final frontier, as it were. Just two captains ready to go at it and stop Soren and save 10 billion alien lives. It's so epic. So flippin' epic. This is so flippin' epic. It is hard to describe just how absolutely stunning this movie is. It just, I know I shouldn't, this isn't even the best science fiction movie I've ever seen or anything, but just the fact that it's Captain Picard and Captain Kirk, how can you not like it? How can you hate this movie? So believe it or not, there are actually some people who think that the Star Trek Next Gen movies didn't need to be made. And to that I say, what the shit? The movies are almost better than the show itself. They take a really good show and up the ante to make the show even more epic. I actually talked to this guy who's like, man, I wish the cast of Next Gen never appeared after All Good Things. I wish they just all went into retirement and never played their beloved characters ever again. Because, Q is in the first episode, and also Q is in the last episode. So it's kind of a circular thing, And don't get me wrong, All Good Things is a good finale episode. But the really great thing about All Good Things is that the future presented in it isn't necessarily the future that's gonna happen. And now, according to canon, it's not the future that happened. And that's okay. All Good Things wasn't meant to be the end of the Star Trek franchise as we knew it. It was meant to be the end of the show. There's nothing wrong with bringing back these really good characters for some really good movies. And if you think Generations, First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis aren't good, what the shit? That's just a flippin' weird opinion to hold. And also, His morons like, Picard isn't good because he says ass deep in Romulans. That's not something a captain would say, especially not Captain Picard. What do you think he'll say? He says damn a lot. He says, what the devil is going on? Or, he's not like a snob. He's not an elitist. Captain Picard is a down-to-earth French grape grower. He ain't a flippin' aristocrat. He just has a grape farm, I think anyone who says Captain Picard can't say ass deep in Romulans, get a life, man. You can say that if he wants. It sounds like something Picard would say, actually. It really does.
Ass deep in Romulans.
But holy shit, people actually take offense to that, and they're like, I don't want more Star Trek. Who wants more Star Trek? And that is an opinion one might hold after a decade of really shit Star Trek, from Discovery to the J.J. Abrams garbage. But Picard actually looks pretty good. It actually looks okay. And you know what the reason for that is? Patrick Stewart's Picard. If he wasn't Picard, it probably wouldn't be a very good show. But he's Picard, and that's all I ask for. And heck, not even to mention, Jonathan Frakes as Riker, Marina Sirtis is back as Deanna, and Brent Spiner as Data in the dream sequences. What the shit more can you ask for, people? And this moron, this absolute numpty when it came to, that's British slang, this absolute doofus when it comes to choosing Star Trek media is well, there's still DS9 and Voyager, so we don't need any new content. Yeah, guess what? Voyager's 20 years old. It's been 20 years since there was a good Star Trek show. You expect me to sit around and watch DS9 and Voyager forever? They're good, don't get me wrong, but you can't just watch reruns of them forever. Eventually you're going to want a new show, some new content, some new stuff. It just has to be good. That's all I ask. It can't be like Discovery, which is garbage, but, it can be like Picard. Picard's okay, from what I've seen. I haven't seen it myself. I hope to see it sometime. If it ever comes out on VHS, I'll be sure and give it a watch. And I'll get back to you on how well it lives in, continuing the legacy of Star Trek.
Ass deep in...
But this movie does a perfectly okay job at continuing the next-gen storyline, bringing Captain Kirk back for one last action-packed brawl. And this is, like I said, better than all 2 through 6 Star Treks. Because those are garbage. They were pumped out every year, and people got sick of them really fast because all of them were very low quality. None of them had interesting plots. None of them really meant anything. All of them were garbage. Oh man, it's Khan. Oh no. That's a moment the franchise flippin' died. Once they just resort to bringing back this cheesy ass villain from the original series. It's a movie. Make a new plot. You don't need more Khan. It's the worst episode of the original series. But this movie does a better job at, after seeing Captain Kirk in this, I forget about 2 through 6. I just wipe them from my brain. I'm just man, this is back to the good shit. It's back to the action. And the Nexus is kind of like a sequel to V'ger.
No end. But in one uncharted corner...
Now it's this giant light entity, and, it's pretty cool. I like the Nexus. I like the concept of the Nexus. It's a very interesting deal. And of course you got Guinan in this, very nice, and you see, Guinan on the same ship as Captain Kirk, you're like, what? What is going on here? So that's really epic. It's nice to see a Star Trek movie with not too many Borg, and not too much, commentary on politics, there's not too much interplanetary warfare or anything here, not too much crazy conflict, not the crazy dogfights and battles and, internal monologuing of Nemesis, none of the, Starfleet is corrupt of insurrection, none of the Borg and battles and crazy stuff of First Contact. This is just a swashbuckling movie to, really cleanse the palate before you get into all that heavier stuff later on down the line with all those crazy special effects battles and, But this movie is really good. Now, the bit where the Enterprise crashes onto the planet, man, it still looks great. And, they had to build an entire miniature forest. Like in Nemesis, obviously, tons of CGI. First Contact, lots of CGI. But this looks just like really good. It looks really, really spectacular. I like the I like the scene where the Enterprise crashes. I think they got like a model railroad kit and painted some trees and got a big Enterprise saucer and smash it down. I hope that's how they did it. If it was CGI, it ruined my childhood. But it just looks so good. It looks so real, and you really feel the impact of like, oh my God, the Enterprise is not getting out of this one. And it's kind of sad to see the end of one of the coolest ships. I don't think the Enterprise looks as cool. I think it's kind of lame. It's too slim, too futuristic. The bridge kind of sucks. I don't like the Enterprise that much. I like the Enterprise D. But again, that is, to say that this movie has stakes. Things are going to change. Things are going to be switched around a little, and there's going to be a new Enterprise. And, the new Enterprise does look like way more cinematic and futuristic, but I kind of miss the homey charm of the Enterprise D, the nice Galaxy class feel it's got with all the nice recreational facilities, the nice bars, the nice, everything. It's got a nice feel to it. But again, it's not bad that it gets destroyed in this movie. That is a really cool deal. Like, that none of the main characters die. Like, in fact, nobody dies, I don't think. But the Enterprise is frickin' scrap metal. It's getting frickin' hauled off to this space landfill after this adventure because it's flippin' demolished. And, that adds a lot of stakes to the situation. You get to see how Soren's selfish actions affect everyone. And, there's the point at which Picard is in the Nexus, or before he's in the Nexus, right before you see the sun explode, Soren's evil plan has succeeded, and those 10 million aliens die, everyone on the Enterprise dies, and you're just like, holy shit, everyone is dead. Everyone is dead. And then you realize, but Captain Picard's not dead, because he was saved by the Nexus. And then him and Captain Kirk team up to flippin' put an end to Soren's evil plans. I'm still not sure how that works. Like, are they still in the Nexus? Because in reality, they were flippin', killed. So I'm not sure exactly how the Nexus works. If the Nexus is also a time machine, because that would be weird. But also, what if after Picard goes in the Nexus, everything that happens after that is just a Nexus dream or something? That's kind of disturbing to think about. It's a bit like the Elon Musk we're living in a simulation theory, but a little less stupid, because that is what the Nexus does. I mean, basically, Captain Picard just says to Captain Kirk, what if we went back and made a difference? But how can you go back? I don't think the Nexus is a time machine. I think it just shows you what you want to see. If you want to be at your happy French chateau on Christmas morning with your jolly children who you don't have in reality, the Nexus will bring you to that scene. If you want to be at your happy outdoorsy backcountry lodge chopping logs out back, the Nexus will bring you to that scene. And if you want to prevent potential genocide, and you want to stop Soren, then the Nexus will bring you to that scene. But does that mean that scene is real? I don't know. It's a bit confusing. It would have made more sense if they mentioned that the Nexus is a time machine and that Picard and Kirk travel back to, like, 5 minutes before Soren blows up the sun. That would actually make kind of sense, but I guess the Nexus does whatever the Nexus does. But you gotta think, like, man, is First Contact just a Nexus illusion? Is everything after that just Nexus stuff? Well, obviously not. I mean, who'd want to experience a vivid hallucination about the Borg and stuff? But I don't know, the Nexus is just kind of confusing.
One uncharted corner of our galaxy is a corridor to another world.
But it is a neat little plot device. It is a neat way of bringing Kirk into the present out of the past. And above all, it does make sense as to why Soren would want to get in the Nexus, because in the opening scene you see this group of Elorian refugees. Obviously the man's lived a hard life.
We're going to help you. We are going to help you.
And he wishes he could get into that Nexus, baby, and start living the good life on his Nexus, even if it means the death of 10 million random aliens on some strange planet because he blew up their sun. Very cool motivation, very cool villain. Makes a lot of sense continuity-wise, and I like the idea of Soren and Guinan being on the Enterprise C or whatever it is, right when Kirk gets sucked off into the energy ribbon, and Soren spending the next 80 years all the way through Next Gen just studying and researching and figuring out this Nexus thing and what is it and how's it work. And then he comes in on Data and Geordi, and they're repairing stuff, and Data's like, Mr. Tricorder, ha ha ha. And Soren's like, time to get effed, you frickin' Starfleet interferers. I'm gonna give you a dosage of whoop ass, and I'm gonna get my Nexus.
We got a level 12 shockwave coming in. We gotta get out of here.
And it's just great. It's just so good. And of course, we got the character development of Data. In this movie, he says, "Oh shit," as they're about to crash into the planet. That's really cool. Some nice profanity in there. Because it is a movie, you can get away with that. I like them taking advantage of that, putting a little profanity in there. And I like how it's Data who says it. So fitting. Just so smart. And again, the case is really cool. I really like this case. It's not even like 3D. There's no little grooves on it, but I didn't even know how this was accomplished. Man, only back when VHS cases were a thing, am I right? It's on the back and the sides and not the top, but the back and the sides. Anyway, Richard Zoglin from Time Magazine says, a smashingly entertaining mix of outer space adventure. Couldn't agree with you more. This is a freaking phaser fest up in the Pizzazz. Pat Collins from WWOR TV says, a cosmic hit that all generations will love. And I gotta say, you certainly will. I saw this when I was 8. It blew my freaking mind, because I only seen Next Gen and original series up to that point. This is, I think I saw motion picture first, but this was definitely a big winner. When I was younger, I used to pop this in, watch it, and I was like, wow, Star Trek on the big screen. Now that's what I'm talking about. If I'd been able to see this in 1995, holy crap, I would have bought me a cinema ticket and gone down there and caught the epic spacefaring adventures of Captain Kirk and Captain Picard. I really like how here on the front you got Captain Picard up here and Captain Kirk up here and Captain Picard down here. In the middle you got this exploding sun, which makes a lot of sense because the plot has to do with an exploding sun. And then you got the Enterprise D flying out of the exploding sun. That's really cool. And these little lines on the side. I still don't, it's a very, very cool design. And I like the photo of Captain Kirk. Now, of course, this is Kirk after he gets fat. So you kind of think, he's not that athletic. But all the stunts, which I don't know if it was a stuntman or William Shatner himself, they all look pretty good. And the idea of Soren being caught in the bridge not the Enterprise bridge, but the actual bridge he's strung up between these two captains. And, you know, the visual imagery of that. Captain Picard alone can't stop Soren, but two captains? You bet your ass Soren and his nefarious plans are going downhill from here, Buster, because Captain Kirk can do so-and-so, and Captain Picard can also do so-and-so.
Just who the hell are you?
He's James T. Kirk.
And I like the idea of, did we make a difference? And Captain Kirk feeling like his life has been fulfilled as he dies. Just so cool. It's sad when Captain Kirk dies. It's like really sad. Like, you know, it's definitely sadder than when Spock dies in Wrath of Khan, because that was obviously just a gimmick. And they bring him back, and the search for Spock, oh, we can't really kill off a character, but, you know, here Kirk actually dies. And, you know, beginning with Tasha Yar dying in Next Gen, we see a cool trend of characters dying, and that really brings some impact and some stakes. And then, of course, Data dies in Nemesis. Just so sad. But Star Trek really knows how to pull off a death. You know, just a major character flipping dying. Like, man, you know, game-changing stuff right there. And there ain't no flipping Force ghosts in this universe. There ain't no freaking Obi-Wan coming back. Hey, use the Force, Luke. We're talking flipping death. Permanent death. It's really nice because in the Star Trek universe, you know, they got all these cortical regenerators and cortical stimulators, but they ain't got a way to make someone dead alive. Doesn't happen. So that's really cool. I like how death is final in the Star Trek universe. Even though technology has advanced leaps and bounds, death is still absolute and final. Very slick stuff. And there is one last thing that should be mentioned, and that is the description on the back here. Stardate, the 23rd century. That's not a stardate, but alright. Retired Starfleet officers James T. Kirk, Montgomery Scott, and Pavel Chekhov are guests of honor aboard the newly christened Enterprise B. A test run takes an unexpected turn, however, when the starship encounters two vessels trapped inside the Nexus, a mysterious energy ribbon. During a perilous rescue attempt, Kirk is swept out into space. 7 decades later, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, and the crew of Enterprise D rescue an Elarian physicist named Sarin. Unbeknownst to Picard, Sarin harbors a deadly plan that includes the destruction of the Enterprise and millions of lives. That's not accurate. His plan doesn't include the destruction of the Enterprise. The Enterprise only gets destroyed because it tries stopping his plan, but whatever. Now Picard's only hope for a future rests within the Nexus and a legendary captain from the past. Very cool. Jonathan Frakes, Brent Spiner, LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Marina Sirtis, and Gates McFadden co-star. And Brandon Braga does the screenplay. Man, oh man, is this just a solid flippin' absolute banger of a film. And I gotta say, this is the best next-gen film. I like First Contact. I do like Nemesis. I think Nemesis is okay. If there had been a fifth one, it probably would have been even better. It probably would have finished the next-gen portion of the story, at least, in a more satisfying way than, a TV spin-off 20 years down the line. But Nemesis is okay. Nobody really cares about Insurrection, but I'm sure it's an okay movie at any rate. It's directed by Jonathan Frakes, and, it's probably okay, even if, as people say, it feels more like an episode of Next Gen. But by that point, Next Gen had already been pretty much over, so, why not have one last movie that's just a film for movie's sake? But this one here has got just, it feels like just a Star Trek movie, like the definitive Star Trek movie, but it also has, a really cinematic and just like this is Star Trek right here. And it's crazy to think this was made after Gene Roddenberry died, because it just does such a good job of fulfilling the legacy of Star Trek. and having Patrick Stewart and flippin' William Shatner in the same movie. The screenplay is excellent. Kudos to Brandon Braga. I can't believe you were also behind Enterprise, like cheese. But Rick Berman, Brandon Braga, both very good producers and writers behind the Star Trek franchise. And of course, the plot is epic. As with the other installments in the Star Trek, in the Next Gen movie lineup, you don't see much going on board the Enterprise. There's not much sick bay antics, there's not much happening on the bridge, but it's more than makes up for, the lack of scenes with just casual chatter, which were very common on Next Gen, and replaces it with solid-ass, phaser-stunning, crazy red alert, fun times for all. So, man, what do I rate this movie? What do I rate it? What do I rate all the good movies on this show? 5 out of 5 stars, baby! 5 smackaroos.
Precious little life, boom. Where are you?
That's the only rating I can give this movie that I feel would do it justice. It's not even like one of the best science fiction movies. It ain't the Blob levels of science fiction fun, but it is definitely my favorite Next Gen movie. And if you want a Star Trek cinematic experience, I would recommend popping this and the motion picture in together and watching them back to back and seeing one cosmic adventure involving a light entity and another cosmic adventure featuring a light entity. Both movies were leaps and bounds ahead of what had been previously done at the time. Both of them are very technically ambitious, and both of them are just a whole lot of fun. And you wonder just how, in a franchise with such epic installments as Generations or Motion Picture, how something as sordid and awful as Wrath of Khan could have popped out. What an absolute dumpster fire that film is. I'm going to hate it to my grave. It almost killed Star Trek single-handedly, but luckily it was able to be resurrected in '95. Now, only time will tell whether Star Trek is going to be resurrected or finally left as the historical artifact it is. A mighty fine historical artifact if that's the case. I mean, gosh darn, The Cage is one of the most ahead of its time pilots I think I've ever seen, like decades ahead of its time. But yeah, that said, that's Star Trek Generations. An excellent movie and an excellent franchise. Go pop this in your VHS, you won't regret it. This VHS plays like a dream, and bonus, look at this flippin' case. Look at this flippin' Rainbow Rama psychedelic flippin' Picard and Kirk on here. Like, Jesus, color burst. I didn't even know I did that, but like, wow. Someone put some flippin' thought into this. But yeah, bonus, epic, colorful case that I don't think I've ever seen a design like this before. It's not 3D. It's not 3D like you'd expect it would be, but it's only just got like a rainbow effect on here. Whoa. But anyway, that's Star Trek Generations. If you liked today's review, leave a like, smash those buttons, and if you'd really like to support me and help out all the cool content I got coming your way, I got some fresh stuff lined up. And write to Nicholas K. to 1424 Columbine Street, number 1, Denver, Colorado 80206 for some swell Nicholas comics. If you're into science fiction, I recommend ordering my science fiction anthology. 15 stories in there, graffiti on the walls of Pierce Brosnan's garage. Some very good science fiction up in that pizzazz. That said, I'm a complete Star Trek simp. I like the franchise. It's a good franchise with some low points, some high points, a lot of variation. That said, sayonara, suckers. I'll see you in the next one. One of what? I don't even know.